If this reached you now, it wasn't random. You weren't meant to hear this earlier. And you weren't meant to explain why it resonates. As 2026 began, something shifted without asking for attention. No sign in the sky. No sudden realization you could explain to someone else. It arrived quietly, almost politely, as if it didn't want to interrupt your life, only realign it. You felt it in the way words started to cost more. Not emotionally. Energetically. Conversations that once felt neutral now felt draining. Explaining yourself felt unnecessary. You noticed that silence didn't make you anxious anymore. It made you feel intact. This wasn't withdrawal. This wasn't isolation. This was awareness turning on. You didn't wake up one day and decide to change. You simply stopped forcing what no longer flowed. Speaking too much began to feel like giving something away that hadn't asked to be taken. And staying quiet felt like keeping something sacred intact. 2026 didn't ask you to expand outward. It asked you to stabilize inward. You may have noticed you no longer rush to respond. Messages sit unread a little longer. Not because you don't care, but because your energy now checks alignment before engagement. You're no longer available on impulse. That's not detachment. That's discernment. This year doesn't reward noise. It rewards precision. It doesn't amplify whoever speaks first. It strengthens whoever moves at the right moment. And the ones who sense this shift early, the quiet ones, the observers, the emotionally deep, were never meant to be loud carriers of energy. You were designed to hold it first. You may not have had language for this yet. You only knew that something old stopped working. That explaining yourself felt heavier than staying silent. That protecting your inner space suddenly mattered more than being understood. That's when the shift began. Not in the world. And it's only the beginning. The new energetic rule, containment over expression. You may have felt it already, that subtle resistance when you almost share something important. Not fear. Not doubt. Just an inner pause that didn't exist before. As if something inside you quietly said, hold this. That pause is the new rule of 2026 activating. For years, expression was power. Saying everything out loud felt like movement. Visibility felt like progress. But this year changed the equation. Now, expression without grounding weakens you. Speed without stability drains you. You're not meant to broadcast what's still forming. Containment is no longer a limitation, it's a form of mastery. The ability to sit with an idea, a plan, a transformation, without needing witnesses. To let something grow strong before it becomes visible. To trust that what's real doesn't require constant validation. You may have noticed your excitement doesn't want an audience anymore. Not because you're less passionate, but because your passion has become focused. What once rushed outward now settles inward, organizing itself. This is how power consolidates. 2026 is not asking how loudly you can announce yourself. It's asking how deeply you can root. When you contain your energy, it stops leaking into conversations that don't nourish it. It stops bending to opinions that were never meant to shape it. You remain intact, centered, and internally guided. That's why staying quiet now feels different. It doesn't feel like shrinking. It feels like holding something valuable in your hands and choosing not to drop it. This year favors those who can hold pressure without reacting. Those who can wait without weakening. Those who understand that real momentum builds silently before it ever moves visibly. And you're learning this not through theory, but through instinct. Through that natural hesitation before speaking. Through the relief you feel when you don't explain yourself. Through the strength that follows restraint. Containment isn't hiding. It's preparation. And 2026 is preparing you for something that doesn't survive exposure until it's fully formed. Why speaking too soon weakens your momentum? You may not have noticed it at first. It happens quietly. You share something you're working on, something you're excited about, something that still feels fragile, and afterward the energy drops. Not because anyone reacted badly. Not because they doubted you. But because something shifted inside you. In 2026, speaking too soon doesn't create clarity. It creates pressure. The moment unfinished plans enter conversation, they're no longer yours alone. They begin to carry other people's expectations, interpretations, and timelines. What was light becomes heavy. What felt possible starts to feel monitored. That's the cost of premature exposure. This year reveals a truth many never learn. Not everything weakens because it's challenged. Some things weaken because they're seen too early. Unformed energy hasn't learned how to defend itself yet. It bends easily. It absorbs noise. You felt this when excitement turned into obligation. When motivation turned into performance. When silence afterward felt like recovery. That wasn't imagination. That was your system recalibrating. 2026 doesn't punish expression, it just demands timing. Words spoken before alignment drains momentum instead of building it. Explanation pulls the future into the present before it's ready to live there. That's why staying quiet now feels stabilizing. You're no longer bleeding energy into conversations that can't hold it. You're letting ideas strengthen before they're tested by the outside world. This isn't secrecy. It's strategy. Momentum in 2026 isn't created by talking. It's protected by waiting. And the more you honor that instinct to pause, the stronger your inner trajectory becomes, quiet, steady, and untouched. Silence is not fear, it's divine intelligence. You may have noticed that staying quiet no longer feels empty. It feels deliberate, almost alive. In 2026, silence is not an absence. It is intelligence awakening. Think of the seed underground. It doesn't call attention to itself. It doesn't rush to bloom. It gathers strength quietly, unseen, and when it finally emerges, it is unstoppable. Your energy works the same way now. Silence in this year isn't about fear. It isn't insecurity. It is a signal from your own system that timing matters. The moments when you instinctively pause before speaking, when you leave an explanation unsaid, when you retreat inward for recalibration, these aren't lapses. They are your inner architecture forming. Every pause, every unspoken word, every stillness is building a foundation that can hold immense power. You may have felt it in subtle ways. The calm after a long pause, the sense of expansion when no one is watching, the quiet confidence that arises when you choose restraint. That is not passivity. That is your soul activating, teaching you the art of unseen creation. Storms gather quietly before they break. Ideas incubate before they launch. Growth doesn't announce itself until it is ready. And so, in 2026, your silence is your ally. It's the medium through which your future shapes itself, without interference, without compromise, without distraction. You're not missing out by not explaining. You're gaining depth, alignment, and clarity that words cannot deliver. This year, quiet isn't lonely. Quiet isn't weakness. Quiet is intelligence. And you are learning to let it guide every step. The signs you're meant to move in silence. You may have noticed subtle shifts in how interactions affect you. Conversations that once energized you now leave a quiet tension in your chest. Messages sit unread a little longer, not because you don't care, but because your energy now measures alignment before engagement. You instinctively pause before speaking. Not out of fear, not out of doubt, but because something inside recognizes the cost of words. You feel stronger after staying silent. Not relieved, not secretive, empowered. This isn't a personality change. It's a signal. A quiet, persistent whisper from your soul that says, "This is how you move now." Other signs are even subtler. You feel drained by trivial explanations. You notice when energy is being pulled from you instead of nourished. You no longer rush to fill silence with conversation or performance. You may even notice that some relationships shift naturally without drama, simply because your energy no longer matches the old rhythms. Every pause, every withheld word, every deliberate silence is a confirmation. You are being called to operate in a different frequency. One where energy is not given indiscriminately, but contained, preserved, and directed. You may feel it in your body, a subtle vibration of patience, a tightening of boundaries, a quiet confidence that wasn't there before. These are not coincidences. They are the markers of a new operating system. The universe is teaching you, gently but firmly, that movement now must be intentional. That power doesn't announce itself. It waits, prepares, and emerges fully formed. And you, quietly, are already learning to embody that principle. Why quiet people will win in 2026. This year doesn't reward volume. It doesn't favor reaction. It favors precision. And if you've felt the shift within yourself, you already know this. Quiet people are gaining an edge that the loud cannot reach. Every impulsive move from the past now feels heavy, unnecessary. Every action taken without alignment feels wasted. In contrast, those who wait, observe, and act with timing carry more weight than 10 hurried gestures. One well-placed move outweighs countless attempts to prove presence. You may have noticed it when you chose stillness over explanation. When you withheld your plans, your energy didn't weaken, it grew. When you paused instead of reacting, the situation clarified itself. That is the advantage of silence. Strength in 2026 looks different. It's not forceful. It's concentrated. It's subtle. Quiet people conserve energy, move with intention, and allow the world to reveal openings instead of forcing them. Their presence alone commands attention. They act only when alignment locks in, and the impact is undeniable. This is a year where precision becomes your power tool. Reaction feels exposed. Noise feels draining. But timing, patience, and internal stability carry a momentum the world cannot replicate. If you've been quiet, if you've resisted the pull to overshare, if you've learned to measure every word and every movement, know this: your approach is exactly what will allow you to thrive while the rest burn out chasing visibility. Silence is no longer passive. It is strategy. And it is winning. How silence rewrites your soul's authority. You may have noticed that the more you hold back, the more grounded you feel. Decisions become easier. Movements feel lighter, yet heavier in impact. You are no longer outsourcing certainty to others. No one needs to validate you. No one needs to approve your timing. This is the essence of authority in 2026. It doesn't come from being heard. It comes from being rooted. Every pause, every withheld word, every choice to remain quiet strengthens your inner power. Presence alone begins to speak, even when nothing is said. You feel it when you stop explaining yourself. When you don't justify your choices. When your intentions remain contained. There is a weight in stillness that the loud cannot imitate. It commands attention without demand, influence without force. Your soul is learning to move independently of perception. What once required consensus now requires only alignment. What once demanded explanation now only requires trust in timing. You no longer need to perform to prove worth. You simply are. And that is enough. Silence now becomes a medium of authority. Not because it hides you, but because it solidifies you. Decisions crystallize. Movements gain gravity. Presence alone communicates clarity, strength, and confidence. In 2026, the quiet are not ignored, they are underestimated. And underestimated power always outlasts performance. The quiet advantage: why silence protects what's coming. 2026 doesn't reward those who keep busy. It rewards those who are precise. Those who wait. Those who conserve energy. What grows in silence arrives stronger, lasts longer, and speaks through results rather than words. You may have noticed that when you stop trying to impress or explain, doors start to open on their own. Opportunities align quietly, without fanfare, without rush. Your energy no longer leaks into every interaction. It is shielded, refined, and focused. Silence protects your new timeline. It protects the work that is forming within you. It allows transformation to mature fully before it faces the world. And when it does emerge, it carries weight, presence, and inevitability. This is the advantage you now possess: the ability to move unseen until everything is ready. The ability to shape outcomes through timing rather than force. The ability to act with clarity while the world chases noise and recognition. Quiet isn't absence. It's preparation. It's alignment. It's mastery. And if you've been feeling the pull to pause, to hold, to stay invisible for a moment longer, trust it. This is not waiting. This is fortification. What you are protecting in silence now will define the trajectory of your entire year. It will speak for itself long before you need to say a word. In 2026, the quiet do more than survive. They thrive. And what emerges from this silence is nothing less than the truest, most powerful version of yourself. As 2026 unfolds, remember this: silence is not absence, weakness, or retreat. It is intelligence. It is strategy. It is the invisible architecture upon which your power, your authority, and your destiny are quietly building. You are no longer required to explain yourself to anyone. You are no longer measured by volume, by speed, or by visibility. Your energy now speaks through timing, precision, and presence. Every pause, every moment of stillness, every withheld word is not wasted. It is preparation for the impact you were born to have. The quiet advantage is real. The unseen alignment is real. And you, if you honor this rhythm, are moving in a frequency the world has yet to recognize. So protect your energy. Trust your pauses. Move only when alignment calls. And watch as what has been growing quietly within you emerges stronger than you ever imagined. If this message resonated, take a moment to honor your silence today. Reflect, breathe, and remember, your power doesn't need explanation, it needs patience. If you feel this energy speaking to you, subscribe to stay connected with insights for chosen ones. Share this with someone who moves quietly but carries immeasurable strength. And comment below, I honor my silence, if you're ready to step into the power of 2026.